Hey guys, thanks for joining me. A week or so ago, I did a review on this AC60. This is a brand new power station from Bluetti, and this thing is a rugged little tank of a mid-range power station, a small to mid-range power station. And I really did like this power station. In fact, I very much do like this power station. And today, something else showed up I want to share with you. Today, the B80 battery expansion showed up. So I want to do a follow-up video on this B80 and find out how it works and kind of just show you how it works with the main unit, the AC60. So let's get this thing out of the box and see what it comes with. Little box on the inside. All we've got is a big attachment cable here. No surprise there. User manual and a little warranty card. Won't bore you with that. All right, now I can already tell by the feel of the handle that the B80 is built with the same rugged construction that the AC60 is. And that makes me very happy because I said in the review video on the AC60, and I'll put a link up here if you haven't seen that, this really is the most well-constructed power station that I have reviewed to date. And I don't say that lightly, as I said in the video. I really do believe that. And this thing, man, so it's got its own DC output. So it's got a 12-volt car socket. It's got some USB ports. We'll get into all the details here in the course of the video. And it's also got its own, and this is what I think is very cool, because I mentioned this in the review on the AC60. It's got its own DC 7909 solar connector. So I can charge this thing independent of the AC60. I don't have to rely on this unit for all of its charging and the limitations of the solar that's on this, which is already pretty good, certainly suitable for a unit this size. But when you add the B80 to it, it's really nice to be able to add its own solar panel. So I'm really happy that this thing is a tank, just like its main unit. All right, so let me go get these things connected and kind of show you how they work, run them through their combined capacity paces and find out the usable capacity of these two units combined, both via the AC and also through the DC ports. And we'll test these independently. So yeah, I'll be back in about 2 seconds, which will really be about 3 or 4 weeks. All right, so I've had this B80 now for several weeks, and I'm really appreciating not only the added capacity that it brings to the AC60, but also the additional DC and USB ports that it brings in, and the fact that it's kind of all just plug and play. You connect the big cable and everything just kind of works. So let's jump in and see how the B80 actually performs in various ways that you might want to know about. All right, now that we've got the AC60 and the B80 combined with the expansion here, giving me an additional 800 watt hours of capacity over what the AC60 has. Also notice that the B80 module has its own 12 volt socket here. So that's very cool. It's also got USB-C and USB-A ports down there. I want to go ahead and turn on the main unit and just see if I can actually just power this off of the DC port on the B80 here and see if I get the combined capacity of both power stations or both modules. So we're going to let this run. You can see I'm pulling 12.3 volts at just a hair over 9 amps. So we'll check back when it's fully drained and we'll see how many watt hours we actually were able to utilize. All right, as you can see, we're fully depleted. Let's take a look at the battery tester. All right, looks like we got 1,007.92 watt hours. So call it 1,008 watt hours through the DC output. All right, let's do an AC discharge test on this to find out how efficient the AC inverter is with the combined capacity of both the AC60 and the additional 800 watts of the B80. Now that gives us about 1,200 watt hours of capacity in total. So let's go ahead and connect this, and we will turn the unit on. I don't know if you can make that out, but we are at 100% state of charge, and it automatically does turn on the B80. And we're going to go ahead and activate the AC inverter. And we will turn on the heater. This will give us, after it settles down, it'll give us pretty much a 200 watt continuous load. It's going to exceed that a little bit and then drop back down to about 200 watts. So we'll go ahead and switch this over to watt hours, and we're just going to count the watt hours up, and we will see how many electrons we caught when this thing is completely depleted out of that rated 1200 watt hours, and find out what we actually get. All right, let's check and see what our capacity test through the AC inverter netted us. 1092 watt hours. That is very good performance through the AC inverter. All right, it is 12:45 in the afternoon, and we're going to do a runtime test on this Iceco fridge being powered by the AC60 with the B80 expansion battery. But we're going to start it from basically an ambient temperature standpoint rather than starting with a pre-cooled chamber. So I have got basically a Costco size 36 can case of soft drinks in here, and just to show you where we're at temperature wise, we're starting, I don't know if you can make that out, we're starting at about 64 degrees Fahrenheit on the inside. Because these cans were in my garage, it's a little bit cool today. So they're not pre-chilled down to refrigerator level. So the refrigerator will have to work a little bit to get these down to target temp. So we're going to set the temp at, we're going to call it 40 degrees, which is standard temperature for refrigerator mode. And we're just going to let it run and find out how long it will run. So let me go ahead and turn on the AC60. It automatically powers on the B80 because they're connected with this big old parallel cable here, and then we'll enable the DC ports, which will give me power to the refrigerator. Let me make sure it's set to 40 degrees. 40 isn't selectable, so I set it to 39, and we are in eco mode, and we're going to let that run. So as I said, just a little past 12:45 in the afternoon, and we're going to find out how much runtime we can get. All right, I actually missed my 24-hour window. It's been just under 28 hours of runtime, so a little over a day and 4 hours, or about a day and 4 hours. We're at 79%. All right, it has been almost 3 days. We are about 2 hours shy of 3 full days. Let's see how much capacity we have left. 64% left. So I don't think I have the time to let this thing run all the way out. I've got other stuff to do, but if we extrapolate this is 6 or 7 days we should be able to run this refrigerator in an ambient temperature of about 70 degrees. So that's fantastic. That speaks a lot to the efficiency of this particular refrigerator from Iceco, as well as the really nice expanded capacity you get from this particular combination of the AC60 with the B80 expansion. All right, it is 9 o'clock in the morning. We have some wispy clouds and fairly clear sky, as you can see. But this is only going to last for a few hours. So trying to take advantage of the morning sun while I can, because we do have rain moving in. But I've got a couple of 200 watt solar panels here. And this is one of the advantages of this AC60 B80 expansion combo, is that the B80 expansion, as I mentioned, has its own solar input. Now it doesn't have a digital display, so I can't really see what rate I'm charging at, but it should be somewhere right now a little over 100 watts from this 200 watt panel. And then, so it's charging independent of the AC60. Now, I don't think there's any reason why I couldn't have these actually connected and charging, but I haven't actually tried that. So in other words, having the AC60 and the B80 connected with that big parallel cable while charging them both separately. I'm going to have to take a crack at that and see what that does. But as you can see, I've got the AC60 over here also charging separately. And as expected, I'm getting about 134 watts. So yeah, so we'll see how well we do.
2 hours later.
All right, it's been 2 hours. I think that's about all we're going to get out of the sun today. We are now pretty much fully clouded over, and looking to the west, nothing but more clouds, which is what the forecast calls for. So I think we've proven that we can solar charge. Now I want to take these things inside and just see how much charge we got. All right, just brought these back in, and as you can see on the top one, we got up to 55% charge. Now, I don't know if you can make it out. Probably not. But on the B80, I've got 2 LEDs filled in. So we're somewhere in the vicinity of 40%, which makes sense. Actually, we're probably less than that, because the B80 is an 800 watt hour unit, and the AC60 is basically a 400 watt hour unit, so half of the actual capacity. So I would expect this to have gotten somewhere in the neighborhood of half of that 55. I really do like how easy it is. I don't have to do any other configuration. I don't have to mess with any menus or anything like that. I just attach the cable and it works. So when I turn this on, now that they're connected, it should turn on both units. And it does. So we're getting 33% total capacity, right? We don't get more because it's reading the total capacity now, not just the capacity of this. So it's basically saying we should have a total capacity of about 1200 watt hours, and it's basically saying we have about a third of that. So about 400 watt hours is what we're getting. And that makes sense because this was about 50%, and this probably was maybe a quarter of the way there. So, you know, that would be 200 plus another 200. So that actually works out. The math does work. So solar charging these independently definitely works. All right, I just wanted to test real quick to make sure this would work. I've got the AC60 and the B80 both connected with their parallel cable, and then I've got 200 watts going into each unit separately. And I wanted to make sure that that configuration actually works. And what it does actually do, contrary to when you have them disconnected from each other, it does show you the combined total charge rate. So I'm actually getting, at this point, since I don't have actual direct proper alignment on these 200 watt panels, I'm getting about 120 watts or so each. And so if I were to show you the display, it will show me a combined 240 or 250 watts, which is more obviously than the 200 watt cap on any individual module. So it is nice that AC60 shows you the combined total of input of both solar panels. So that definitely works, and actually is a preferable arrangement to charging them while they're disconnected, because then you can't really see, unless you launch the app, what your charge rate is. So definitely working. All right, so if it wasn't clear by now, I'm actually very impressed with this AC60 B80 setup. It's extremely versatile, extremely well built, and like I said earlier, it just all works flawlessly without any fumbling around with settings or anything like that. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is that even though I showed that you can solar charge these units either independently or while they're connected together, I do think you're just a little bit better off leaving them connected together while putting that 200 watt solar on both inputs. Because that allows the combined solar charge to be shared between both units, which wouldn't really matter if they were both the same capacity. But keep in mind that the B80 is twice the capacity of the AC60. So your overall charge time will be measurably shorter if you keep them connected. And as a bonus, that also lets you see how much combined solar power you're actually getting into the set as a pair. So if you're just going out for maybe just an overnighter, maybe all you need is the AC60, but maybe you don't need AC power. If that's the case, you could just take the B80 by itself, since it's got practically everything you're going to need on the DC connections all by itself. If you're going to be out for longer, then maybe add the B80 to the mix, so you have both of them with a couple of 200 watt solar panels, and you're pretty much all set to stay out as long as you want. And by the way, I know I just did a video on that JP40 Pro fridge like a week or two ago, but man, that thing is efficient, and I can't believe how long that thing runs with this AC60 B80 combo. Definitely worth a look if you are in the market for a 12 volt fridge in that 40 to 50 quart capacity range. So as far as the AC60 and B80 pricing goes, I must admit that I'm once again left in the dark at the time that I'm recording this, but I can tell you that they are offering a pretty solid early bird pricing discount on both units between now and May 31st of 2023. And they did give me a very respectable 20% off discount code that you can apply to whatever that final pricing ends up being. And as always, you can find all of that relevant detail with the links in the video description below. All right, so hopefully you found some of this information helpful in some way. And if you did, I hope you'll consider clicking that like button for me. I'd very much appreciate that. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this follow-up on the AC60 with the B80. And I do hope you'll join me for the next one. Until then, have fun out there.